Good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock. It's time to begin our August 18th meeting. At this time, we call the roll, call ourselves to order. Councilman Anthony,
Here.
Councilman Gordon,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
Here.
Councilmember McGee,
Here.
Councilman James,
Here.
Councilman Desire, here, and Kilgore here. We do have a quorum this time. At this time, I'd like to recognize Reverend Owens of the First Baptist Church. Pastor, if you would you lead us in prayer, please?
Certainly, sir. Let's pray together. Holy God, tonight we gather in this group to conduct the work of the people of the city of Monroe. We gather not just as a town designated by limits and barriers, but as a community of neighbors. Neighbors who bear the task of ensuring the common good for all who call this place home. And like any community, we experience our fair share of challenges, but also great successes. Closed doors, but also new opportunities. Defeats, but also many victories. And God, of course, the biggest challenge facing not just our local community, but our global one is the COVID-19 virus. Holy One, it is our prayer that a way out of this pandemic will come sooner rather than later. We pray that the gifts that you have bestowed upon so many can be used for collective benefit rather than individual profit to bring an end to this life-altering situation. We pray for those who have been affected, for their families who also are impacted, and for those seeking to provide medical assistance. We lift up those whose physical health may have been spared the brunt of the disease, yet their livelihoods have been tragically devastated. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayers. And finally, Lord, as we turn our attention to the tasks to be done by this group who have been called out by their fellow citizens to do the work of the people of Monroe, Lord, I know that they carry a heavy burden. The burden of not only leading our community, but ensuring the proper attention is given to each and every citizen. So God, I pray your blessings on their endeavors, not just tonight, but every day going forward. May you grant them wisdom in their planning, grace in their dialogue, and discernment in their decision-making. In doing so, we know that in spite of any obstacles that we might face, that this great community will continue onward and upward to experience new successes for all of its people. Amen.
Amen.
Pastor Owens, thank you so much for your prayer. And Pastor Owens of First Baptist Church, thank you so much.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate all y'all do.
All right. Item 1 is public comment period. We have no public comments on that had been written in, so we'll go straight to consent agenda. Recognize Mr. Larry Fleischer.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. The City Council uses the consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and replaced on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items. Item 2 is for the purpose of approving the tax settlement as outlined in the enclosed report for all taxes in hand for collection for the preceding fiscal year, and that the settlement be entered in full into the minutes of the City Council meeting. And of particular note for City Council's awareness, I'd like to share that the improving collection rate that the city has enjoyed, a point of reference would be 2009. From 2009, the collection rate was 94.46%. 2014, approximately 5 years later, 98.42%. And the last tax year, 99.25%. So overall, roughly a 5% increase or net change, excuse me, in collection rates, which is phenomenal. Item 3 is for the purpose of calling for 2 public hearings on September 1st, 2020. The first is to consider a level 1 economic development incentive grant. The second is to consider a zoning map amendment request to rezone property located at 3433 Continental Drive from R10 SU to R20 residential low density. Item 4 is for the purpose of accepting funding through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security legislation for the Ellen Fitzgerald Senior Center, and to adopt a budget amendment in the amount of $14,986 for the allocation and use of those funds. Item 5 involves minutes and reports lettered A through F, and item 5A involves disbursements from City Council's discretionary fund. There was one disbursement for the period, or one set of disbursements for the period from involving Councilmember Saluda Anthony. Those three were Community Health Services for Union County in the amount of $1,000, to the Community Shelter of Union County in the amount of $200, and to Union County Crisis Assistance Ministry in the amount of $300. There are 7 sets of minutes lettered 5B through E. 5F is a summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, and settlement of claims. There were 71 contracts for the period totaling approximately $857,000, and one claim settled, excuse me, one claim settled by the North Carolina League of Municipalities Risk Management Services on our behalf in the amount of $7,250 for personal injury related to a vehicle accident. Item 6 is for the purpose of awarding a contract to Dawn Development for the construction of the remaining portion of the 6-inch gas pipeline in the amount of $713,339, and to adopt a capital project ordinance in the amount of $164,000 and change to be added to the project budget. Item 7 is for the purpose of approving the request from Venton Bell for outside city sewer services for his home at 3101, again, 3101 Watkins Road, to serve this single family home. Item 8 is for purpose of approving a 3-year licensing agreement with ESRI for use of the ArcGIS software in the amount of $105,000, which we distributed over those 3 years at $35,000 a year. Item 9 is for the purpose of approving the tax releases for the month of July in the amount of $2,442.72. These releases were created by a change or reduction in the value of the City of Monroe by the Union County Tax Assessor. Item 10 is for the purpose of awarding the purchase contract to Excel Truck Group in the amount of $97,460 for a flatbed dump truck for use by the Water Resources Department. And Mayor, members of council, that concludes my summary of items placed on the consent agenda for your consideration.
Move that it be approved.
I'll second that.
I have a question first before we do that. 3A and 3B. So
3 is a public hearing, calling for a public hearing.
it's called, say it again.
3A and 3B are calling for public hearings.
So what are you saying?
Next council meeting, we'll have a public hearing on that.
Oh, we have public hearing, okay.
Okay, anything else?
No, that was it. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So move.
You already did from Councilmember Anthony, and Councilmember McGee seconded.
I have a motion second, okay, at this time. Councilman Anthony,
Yes.
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway, Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman McGee,
Yes.
Councilman James,
Yes.
Councilman Kazire. Yes. Kilgore, yes. Okay, consent agenda will pass. We'll go into our regular agenda. Item 11 of the regular agenda, annexation and zoning map text amendment request for property containing 169.47 acres along Waxhaw Highway to be rezoned. And this is a public hearing, and we've had one public comment that we received, one against. Who will be handling that?
Good evening. This is Carrie Mendler with the Planning Department. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
And we can all see my screen. The PowerPoint presentation. Tonight I'll be presenting 2 separate items under one presentation. The first item is an annexation request. The second item is a zoning text amendment and map amendment request. The applicant is requesting the annexation and conditional district rezoning in order to develop 500 single-family lots. To orient you to the site, the property is south of Waxhaw Highway. And then this red dashed line indicates the existing city limits. As I mentioned, the site is to develop 500 single-family lots, and the total area of the project is 169.47 acres. The subject property is currently zoned RA20 and RA40. It is in the county, so that is county zoning. The adjoining zoning is also RA20 and RA40. The applicant is requesting the rezoning in order to develop 500 single-family homes. As mentioned, the total area of this project is 169.47 acres. The density of this project is 2.95 units per acre. The minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet, with 7,628 square feet as the average lot size. The proposed setbacks are 25 feet for the front and rear, and 5 feet for the side, and then 10 foot for the corner lots. The project is required to provide at least 12.5% open space, which would equal 21.83 acres. The total area of open space provided is 49.08 acres, or 29%. The open space also includes a clubhouse and pool and several pocket parks, which will have walking paths, park benches, exercise equipment, and/or playground equipment. And just to orient you here quickly, this is the main amenity area, the clubhouse and the pool. It's at the center of the site. So just this center here is where that main amenity will be, with additional pocket parks scattered throughout the site. There were a couple blue line streams on this site, and they have been provided with a 50-foot buffer on both sides. Street trees will be provided at a rate of 1 tree per lot, and houses will have at least 2 yard trees. There will also be landscaping along the frontage of Waxhaw Highway. Each home will have a 2-car attached garage, and all front load garages will have carriage style trim and/or hardware that mimics carriage style doors. And driveways will also be able to accommodate at least 4 vehicles. A 5-foot sidewalk will be provided on all interior streets, and an 8-foot sidewalk will be provided along Waxhaw Highway. The development will have 2 access points on Waxhaw Highway located at this intersection and here. The right, or the western entrance, will have a right deceleration lane, as well as a left turn lane into the development. And then the eastern entrance will just have a left turn lane installed. There are other various off-site improvements which are outlined in your staff report as well. The developers proposing the homes will be a minimum of 1,400 square feet, and that's the heated square feet. The proposed exterior building materials will include fiber cement, stone, stucco, and/or brick. Vinyl will only be used for trim work, and the front facade will include a mix of materials with a minimum of 25% being brick, stone, or stucco. The development falls within the Walter Bickett Elementary, Monroe Middle, and Monroe High Schools for the 2020-21 school year. The applicant did hold a neighborhood meeting on June 28th, 2020 at Grace Baptist Church. 2 individuals attended this meeting. A summary prepared by the applicant's engineer is attached as well. 2 rezoning and annexation notification signs were posted on this property on August 7th, and an official rezoning notification letter was sent to adjacent property owners within at least 150 feet, also on August 7th. The land development plan indicates this area is suburban, while residential uses typically take the form of neighborhoods with uniform housing types and densities. A mix of housing types and lot sizes is preferred, which this development does have a mix of lot sizes. And the density for suburban residential is 2 to 4 units per acre. The proposed project is consistent with the future land use plan. Planning staff and the planning board recommend approval of the rezoning. And I will be happy to answer any questions you have. The applicant's engineer is also online. They do have a short presentation, and I'm sure they'd be happy to answer any questions you have as well.
Council have any questions?
I like the plans.
Miss Anthony? Miss Anthony, you broke out.
No, I was just saying that I like the plans and the open spaces and the entry to Waxhaw Highway, the walking trail, and the 2-car garages. Sidewalks is impressive.
If I could
could you
remind
share-
council to please identify yourself when you start making remarks. That way you're complying with your rules and state law.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was.
That's all right. No worries.
Councilwoman-
And I believe Mayor Pro Tem Holloway was about to speak, Mayor.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Carrie, the two people that did show up, what were their comments or concerns? Could you address those, please?
Sure. The one individual was there mostly just to see kind of what was being proposed. There was another individual that lives on north of the site. I think that her property butts up to the railroad tracks. She indicated some concerns about noise with the development, some water concerns about the way the water was going to run off, or flooding potential along 75. And I think some general transportation concerns just due to the number of the lots.
This is Councilwoman Anthony. How many actual letters went out?
I believe it was around 32 actual letters were sent.
And you only got 2 in attendance, and 1 had no problems, and the other was talking about the water drainage and possible noise.
Yes, and I believe probably about the same number of letters were sent for the neighborhood meeting, which is an optional meeting that the developer can hold. So I don't know the specifics on that, but I would assume it would be about the same. But the 32 letters is the letters that were sent out by the city for this public hearing. And of course, we did post the property as well. And we just, I think I had one other gentleman call with some general questions. And then you did have the one public comment submitted, and she was one of the other attendees at the neighborhood meeting.
What is the planning recommendation?
I'm sorry?
What is the planning department's recommendation?
Planning staff and the planning board recommend approval of this rezoning and annexation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Don't we have public hearing first? Or do we?
I moved that.
That's correct. And that's correct. And you also have, I didn't know if you wanted to hear from the applicant, but if you don't, you can move straight to
The Councilwoman
close the
Anthony, I
public
moved
hearing.
that. The Councilwoman Anthony, I moved that it be approved.
Actually, Councilmember Anthony, could I ask that the mayor close the public hearing before you start taking action?
Go ahead, sorry.
That's okay.
Close the public hearing and take action.
Motion that petition met requirements of North Carolina General Statute.
Okay.
Second.
Did everyone hear Mr. Kazak?
Holloway seconds.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Motion to adopt an ordinance to extend the corporate limits.
Ma'am, Councilmember Anthony, if you could hold one moment, we've not yet had a vote on
Okay.
the actual motion,
Okay,
the first motion.
I think I've got a motion and a second.
I made the motion.
That's what I,
You do have a motion and second, Mayor, on the annexation petition
Okay.
meeting its requirements.
all right,
You just need to call the vote.
I have a motion and I have a second. At this time, Ms. Anthony,
yes,
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman McGee,
Yes.
Councilman James,
Yes.
Councilman Desire,
Yes.
Kilgore, yes. Okay, item B will pass. All right, on C now.
okay, council zoning action, motion to adopt resolution approving land development plan compliance.
Ma'am, if you could go back to C, which would be the motion I think you originally wanted to make, which would be to adopt the ordinance to extend the corporate limits or to deny.
Okay, Councilman Anthony, move to adopt the ordinance.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Councilman Anthony,
Yes,
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes,
Councilman McGee,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Desire,
Yes.
Kilgore is yes, okay. Item C is satisfied.
Motion to adopt resolution approving land development plan compliance.
A second.
I have a motion second by Mr. Kazire and a second by Ms. James. All in favor, Ms. Anthony,
yes,
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
yes,
Councilman McGee,
Yes.
Councilman James,
Yes.
Councilman Desire,
Yes.
and Kilgore, yes. So D is taken care of. C,
Councilman James, motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.106.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. James, a second by Mr. Kazire. Councilmember Anthony,
yes,
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
yes,
Councilman McGee, McGee, he's having some technical difficulties, maybe bow out again. Okay,
Yes, yes, sir. He is actually bumped back out again.
Councilman McGee. Councilmember McGee,
Yes, I'm here. Having
Awesome.
an issue over here.
Councilman James,
Yes.
Councilmember Desire,
Yes.
and Kilgore, yes. Item F now.
Motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.98.
A second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Desire, I have a second by Councilman James, Councilman Anthony,
yes,
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
yes,
Councilman McGee,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Desire,
Yes.
and Kilgore, yes. Well, that's approved. We go to item 12, zoning map amendment request for rezone property located along Highway 74 and James Hamilton Road. This is a public hearing, and I'll advise that we had 13 public comment submissions, 6 for, 6 against, and 1 undecided. Okay,
This is Carrie with the planning department. I'm just working on getting it set up. If you'll give me 1 second.
all right. It's working in this way, which is.
Okay, guys, this is Doug Britt. Can y'all hear me and see the PowerPoint?
yes,
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this is Doug Britt in the Plan Department, and tonight I'm presenting a zoning map amendment as well as a text amendment request by Pulte Homes Company for the property located along West Highway 74 and James Hamilton Road. The applicant's requesting a conditional district rezoning in order to develop a 153 lot subdivision that will consist of both single-family attached townhomes and detached homes. The total area of the project is 36.23 acres. The slide on the screen is the aerial map of the project area. Subject property is outlined in blue. As you can see, it has frontage along James Hamilton Road at these 2 locations, as well as frontage along Highway 74. This is a zoning map of the area. Again, the property is outlined in blue. The pink portion of the property is currently zoned GB General Business, whereas the tan portion of the property is zoned R40. The properties to the north are R40 as well within the Carrington subdivision. Properties to the east are R40 as well as GB General Business. Properties to the south are GB and Conditional District. and properties to the west are GB as well as R40. The applicant is requesting a conditional district rezoning in order to develop a 153 lot single family subdivision with approximately 8.5 acres of open space. The project will consist of 59 townhomes and 94 single family homes. The single family detached homes will have lot sizes ranging from approximately 5,100 square feet to a little over 12,000 square feet. And the average townhome lot will be approximately 2,500 square feet. The overall density of the project is 4.22 units per acre. This is a more detailed site plan showing the project without all the notes. Just kind of go over a few tidbits about the site plan. The townhomes will have a 20-foot front setback and a 20-foot rear setback. The end units will have a 10-foot setback off the side. The detached single-family homes will have a 20-foot front setback, as well as a 20-foot rear setback and a 5-foot side yard setback. This is the illustrated site plan. As you can see, it has the frontage on Highway 74 labeled at the bottom, as well as off James Hamilton Road. There'll be one access point off James Hamilton Road and the Highway 74. As you can see, they're providing a 30-foot landscape buffer that will be utilize the existing tree canopy as well as supplementing that area with new trees to buffer the adjacent properties in the Carrington Place, as well as the applicant has added additional landscaping in this area up here for these few homes that front kind of in between the project off James Hamilton Road. There's a stream located in this area. They provide the stream buffer, and they'll have detention as far as at these three locations here, here, and here. The detention will be required to meet the stormwater requirements of the engineering detail manual at the time of permitting. As well, there's some additional buffer that will be provided along the back of the townhomes. The adjacent properties I stated in the zoning map, this property here to the south is zone GB, and there's currently there's like a storage business that sells like storage buildings. But this property, obviously would be developed at a later time for commercial purposes, but staff did recommend they provide a buffer with landscaping to help screen the townhomes from the adjacent future resident commercial, as well as from the existing Highway 74. The project will provide sidewalk on both sides of the interior streets, as well as a 8-foot sidewalk on the James Hamilton street frontage. The open space for the project will be consistent, as I stated, 8.5 acres, and it's located in the area at the end of this cul-de-sac. And this is a blow up of the open space, and it's consisted of, by the developer stated, it'll be a tot lot and benches. And just to refer back to this site plan again, as far as for to kind of discuss a little bit of the transportation. As I stated, there will be access located off Highway 74. That access will be right in, right out, meaning you can turn right into the project and you can turn right out of the project. Obviously, you can see there's a median on this portion of Highway 74, so you would not be able to, like, coming from Charlotte and turn left to cross over the westbound lanes to get into the project. You only turn right into it. The access proposed off James Hamilton Road is a full movement access, meaning that you can turn right or left, leaving the project. And the engineering department did request that the developer install a left turn lane on James Hamilton Road to gain access to the project. This is the aerial Google image that shows the location. And like I said, stated, there will be a left turn lane installed on James Hamilton Road for to gain access to the project. And this shows the project location off of Highway 74, and DOT did require that they provide a right decel lane, so you could, as you're going west toward Charlotte, you could get off out of the right travel lane and decel in a small decel lane to turn right into the subdivision. Also to point out too, though, if you look at my cursor right here, this is the U-turn bulb that's utilized currently for the existing super streets. So if you're coming from Charlotte Way you would have to go past the turnaround bulb, and you could either go down to, there is a left turn lane where you can turn at the Woodbrook Apartments to make a U-turn to go back westbound, so you can turn into the subdivision, or you can go all the way down to John Moore Road to make a U-turn to go back into the subdivision. So that discusses the transportation aspects of the project. As far as the elevation goes, the proposed single-family attached townhomes will have a minimum heated square footage of 1,400 square feet with a one-car garage, and the detached dwellings will have a minimum heated square footage of 1,600 square feet with a two-car garage. The exterior building materials for the proposed project will be brick, fiber, cement, stone, and stucco. Developers propose that a minimum of 25% brick or stone shall be used on the front facade of all the homes. Vinyl will be used only in eaves or soffits, windows, and garage doors. The homes constructed on slab foundations will be provided a minimum of 4 courses of brick veneer extending up the slab. All front-load garages shall have windows along the top or carriage-style trim and/or hardware that mimics carriage-style doors. As far as parking, all of the single-family detached homes you'll see here at the top, they'll all be furnished with 2-car garages. The townhome product, they're proposing only 1-car garages for those, and all the driveways for both the townhomes and the detached single-family homes will be able to accommodate at least 2 vehicles in the driveway. This project does fall within the Porter Ridge Elementary and Piedmont Middle and High School attendance zones for the next school year. The project falls within 2 land development character areas. It falls within the community corridor, and a portion falls within the suburban. And you can see that on this slide here. The red color is the community corridor, and the suburban is the yellow. The allowable density for the suburban category is 2 to 4 units per acre, and the allowable density for the community corridor is 4 to 10 units per acre. Based on allowable densities and land uses in both these areas, the project is consistent with the land development plan. The applicant held a neighborhood meeting back in February to discuss the project, and there was approximately 20 to 25 people at that meeting. As well as for this meeting here, staff did post the property, as well as mail neighborhood notification letters of the public hearing. 49 people were notified of the meeting tonight. At the planning board last meeting, the planning board did recommend approval with the following conditions. 1, all front load garages shall have windows along the top or carriage style trim and/or hardware that mimics carriage style doors. Developer has agreed to this condition and modified the site plan as such. Number 2, driveways for the single family attached townhome shall be able to accommodate 2 vehicles. The developer has agreed to this condition and modified the site plan as such. Number 3, the landscape buffer shall be required along the rear of the townhome lots 13 through 40. The landscape buffer shall consist of both deciduous and evergreen trees. The developer has agreed to this condition and modified the site plan. Number 4, provide mixed materials on the front elevations of both the single-family attached townhomes and detached homes so that at least 25% of the front elevation consists of brick or stone. The developer has agreed to this condition and modified the site plan. Number 5, houses built on slab foundations have a minimum of 4 courses of brick of standard size extended at the face of the slab. The developer has agreed to this condition and modified the site plan. And number 6, accessory structures shall not be located beyond the front corner of the home and shall maintain a 5-foot setback from all property lines. Accessory structures shall not be located within a public easements. The developer has agreed to this condition and modified the site plan. And finally, additional amenity features for teens. That was a recommendation from the planning board. The developer verbally agreed to this condition at the planning board meeting, but there was no additional amenities added to the site plan between planning board and city council. And that concludes our presentation. I'll be glad to answer your questions if you have any. And of course, the next slide is council action for the night. The developer, speaking for the developer tonight is Willie Morris of Pulte, and he'll be making a presentation if you so wish. And I'll be glad to answer any questions, like I said.
Doug, Councilwoman Anthony, you said that the developer made a verbal agreement with the planning board to have amenities for teens, but there were none added between the time of planning board meeting and the council meeting?
Yes, ma'am. The amenity is the same as it was prior to going to planning board. Nothing's changed with the amenity package for the project.
How much time was it between the planning board meeting and the meeting tonight?
The city council meeting was, I'm sorry, the planning board meeting was July 22nd.
Okay, so he sort of reneged on that. You say that they have slab foundations?
Yes, and they're proposing to do the 4 courses of brick up the slab, which is what we typically see and recommend for the projects that come before council.
Would that be on-street parking as well? Proposed on-street parking?
With our details that they're required to, you can have street parking. The only exception to that is as far as they have to maintain at least 16-foot clearance between vehicles, you know, so emergency services and fire trucks can get through. But yes, on-street parking is allowed.
Okay. Will this be homeowner association?
Yes, ma'am, it will.
Doug, I have
Yes.
a question. Put the map back up of that subdivision. I got a big problem with connectivity to James Hamilton. James Hamilton has been one area that has had too much traffic on it. But if you put that there, all you're gonna have is a cut through. Ain't gonna be no quality of life, because if I'm in a hurry, I'm gonna cut through there and I got a straight shot to 74. I don't have a problem if that road goes out there and there's a gate, and if the city needs to use it for emergency use, then that would be fine. But I got a real problem that being connected and open to James Hamilton.
Councilmember Anthony, I have a problem also with the amount of traffic, because that's a dangerous area. I also have a problem with the additional traffic that's going to feed into Rocky River Road. So many times I see almost accidents there. Both of them are heavily traveled, and it will be a cut through. And to me, all of the houses are sort of cookie cutter.
Hey,
That's just my personal opinion.
you know, I tell you what, most people, when they buy their home, that's their largest investment they make. And you're talking about teenagers and kids riding bicycles. Well, it ain't gonna take but just about a 45 or 50 mile an hour car trying to make that highway down there, and you're gonna have all kinds of problems. That without that being a gate that gives the city permission to come in there, I couldn't support that.
Mayor Kilgore, have they said anything about putting a gate there for Lynn, or
Doug?
Doug, do you know?
Yes, sir. As far as them not having access to James Hamilton Road, that came up early in the project. From a planning and from an engineering standpoint, we recommended they did just for connectivity and not having one way in, one way out. And plus the engineering department, they have a requirement within their standards that requires if you have more than 100 lots, you're required to have 2 access points to the project. So that's why that that layout was not supported from a staff standpoint because of those reasons.
My neighborhood's got way more than 100 houses, and we only got one way in, one way out. And wouldn't have it any other way because it's safe. That's hogwash.
Pro Tim Holloway here. I agree with councilpersons Kazara and Anthony. If I lived in one of those subdivisions behind it, I would love to see that, because I would be taking that shortcut every day. And that will just double the traffic coming through there, and that's not what we want. And I think the developer can maybe address that when he or she comes up to speak in a few minutes, perhaps.
They can. Of course, it's up to the council's discretion of whether y'all want to require it or not. I mean, obviously, y'all have the discretion to, modify it, approve it, or deny it. That's completely on the table tonight for council's direction.
Councilmember McGee here. I do have a question regarding some of the comments. What were some of the oppositions that were proposed or that we received with regards to public comment? For the public hearing.
Some of the things that came out as far as concerns that most of the homes in the area, not the proposed homes, but the area existing homes that are brick, and that these homes would not be all brick. Obviously the traffic on James Hamilton Road and trying to get out on Rocky River Road, that was a concern. The bypass traffic on Rocky River, people cutting through on James Hamilton Road, trying to go to the bypass. And let's see, just a lack of the road improvements, because I'll mention this too though, and I know I've mentioned this before on a previous project. If y'all recall, James Hamilton Road is the city contributed, I think it was $300,000 to DOT. James Hamilton Road is supposed to be realigned, so it will line up with Myers Road, where it intersects with Rocky River. But that has been pushed back by DOT, and there's no time frame I can give you to when that's going to be done. And so a lot of the feedback we got was the traffic on James Hamilton Road trying to get on Rocky River, and the lack of these homes not being of the quality compared to what's out there now.
But how much of those things have we addressed? I think we've addressed the issues with the way the houses look, but did we address any of the other concerns that we received?
Well, the traffic concerns have not been addressed because that will be addressed by DOT.
Right.
And then the concern about the houses being, a lot of the houses being all brick in the area, you know, they're not proposing all brick for these homes right here, but they're going to be either brick, fiber, cement, or stone. So that, I mean, I guess from the public side, I mean, I guess their expectations would be for the house to be all brick though, but from staff's point of view, I think if it's hardy plank, brick or fiber cement, I think that's comparable to brick.
Right.
This is Councilwoman James, will they consider putting a fence up? A gate?
If, I think they would though, but I mean, if you're when you speak of a gate, or you speak of I mean, because it could be a gated public street. If you say a gate as far as not having access to James Hamilton Road, is that what you're speaking of?
Yeah, a gate that the city would have access to if they had an emergency. That's the only way it would be opened up.
That would be more for them to answer that question than myself. But I will say, if it's a gate, it would have to be, it cannot be a gate and be a public street that would be tied into James Hamilton Road. That would have to be something that I guess council could put conditions on. I know there's areas where the fire department might have a fire department access, and where they'll call it, the gate might be siren activated. But the city would not, I don't know how that would work from an engineering standpoint, because I can't speak for engineering.
Have heartburn if we approve it, but not with an entrance on James Hamilton.
I didn't hear you at first, Mr. Councilman, because you said I would have heartburn, or what did you say?
Would the developer have heartburn if it was not accessed on James Hamilton? Because that's a major concern to me.
They could probably better answer that question, but I would probably say they would not, since they've already mentioned that to us before.
They would not have heartburn.
I don't think so, but I would leave that up for them to answer that question for 100% sure.
No.
Doug, Councilwoman James got a question. You said something about there was some area left for commercial.
This area along the front, if everybody can see where my mouse is, how the project comes out on Highway 74, this is property that they've acquired to get out to 74. So the properties on either side of this road is not their property, it's owned by somebody else. So obviously it is on GB, and it will be developed at some point in the future. And I imagine, since this is a public road, they would probably wish to take access off this road, if not possibly 74 as well. So this would be developed, but this is not part of their project nor part of their property. This is owned by a different individual.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, this is Councilwoman Anthony. Did the developer say anything about his verbal agreement that he did not adhere to about the amenities for teens?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Here, none, I'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, Freddie Gordon here. I thought that we had the developer here and that he could speak to these concerns of some of these council people.
Okay. Doug,
Yes, sir.
some way we can get the developer.
Yes, Willie Moore should be on. I think it's gonna be for Bruce to build where he can speak in the meeting. But Willie Moore should be on making the presentation for Pulte tonight.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution to approve land development plan compliance, provided there is no access on James Hamilton Road.
Well, I think Freddie wanted to hear.
Oh, Freddie, were you
Yeah.
still?
Yeah, he wanted to hear, Mr.
But I thought Doug said they wasn't here.
Yeah, he said he's here. He's waiting for.
Oh.
No, he should be in the meeting, Councilmember
I'm right.
Kazai.
Can everybody hear me? I just got unmuted.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I appreciate it. And yeah, we're here to answer questions. I guess, first of all, I wanted to address the amenity area. We were just coming out of the planning board meeting. We were a little unclear as to what the planning board was wanting us to do. They had, we didn't really have a cohesive direction from them on what they were looking for. I think what we could do, what we were thinking of doing, is committing to having some kind of covered pavilion with some grills or something like along those lines around the play area, so it could be a good birthday party site and a good place for families to convene. And so that, well, I was going to kind of leave it up to get some feedback from you guys. To be perfectly honest, we didn't get clear feedback from planning board on what they wanted. I don't really know what a amenity for teens really means, but so anyway, I just want to make sure we weren't ignoring that. We just wanted to kind of get some feedback from you all. And then as far as the entrance, Doug, if you want to go ahead and we've got that layout at the back of the presentation that shows the emergency access entrance only. I think we can go ahead and just skip to that, because this seems to be the place where we have a whole lot of heartburn. The neighbors, for sure, have been vocal about traffic along this corridor for a long time now. We are certainly okay with this option to remove full access and just have a emergency access gate. I know that Doug and engineering weren't excited about that option, but if it is something that's would allow us to move forward, we are definitely okay with that. So anyway, I just want to make sure everybody was clear on those two things. I'm happy to go through my presentation really quick if you guys would like, or I can just open it up for questions as well. We've got our civil engineer, Matt Mandel from ESP, on as well, and our traffic engineer as well. I guess one other point I just wanted to make was, the site is zoned general business currently, and so our impact to traffic will be less than what could be built there by right. And so I just want to make sure everybody was clear on that. And I know, the intersection of James Hamilton and Rocky River is a little funky, and so if we want to remove our residents from using that, then that is fine. But with that said, I'm here to answer questions, and like I said, for more technical questions, I've got my other guys here with me as well.
Council have any other questions?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Hearing none, the public hearing has been closed, and we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt resolution, approve land development plan compliance, provided no access to James Hamilton, which he's showing there, remove full access to James Hamilton.
Motion, Mr. Councilman Desire, have a second.
Before I second, is that motion, Lynn, to do that, but still have the emergency entrance?
If that's what the city wants. If not, just close it off there. But if the city wants that, that's fine to me.
I think we ought to, if you'd make your motion to include that emergency access.
Okay.
Also, gentlemen and ladies, how about with the amenity area? Are y'all requesting something else to be with the amenity area? Because the plan board, they did a couple ideas was thrown out at plan board. So there were items that were mentioned at plan board, but I just don't know, just so I know what to do and carry on for that as the project goes forward. Is there going to be additional amenity or not with your motion?
He was asking, are there additional amenities? He was asking, is there additional amenities?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the barbecue, Holloway here, barbecue grills that he was speaking of, more than just a play set. I don't really know the amount of space they've got, but some type of area like we did on a subdivision a couple of months ago, where you've got room for exercise equipment, long walkways, chin up, pull-ups.
That could be an option, as well as also doing an outside pavilion like a covered gazebo with a fire pit. We've done that before.
I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Councilmember Anthony, the motion is a little bit unclear, but I am uncomfortable voting until, we see an actual plan rather than a promise.
Councilmember Anthony, to answer your question, this is Majib Shakan. If council wishes, it could move to continue any further action on this item to your September meeting, if the developer can provide that information by the September meeting.
Can we just go ahead and commit to a covered pavilion and barbecue grills? I mean, we can commit to that right now.
And I'm sorry, you are?
I'm sorry, I'm Willie Morris. I'm with Pulte Group, the developer.
Thanks. That would be up to council to decide.
Okay, Councilman Kazai, would you be amenable to taking until September until we can actually see the plan rather than the promise?
Why don't we do this, Saluda? Why don't we approve it based upon the fact that they do come back to staff with plans for the, what you're talking about for the young kids? That way it won't.
Okay, question, if we approve it,
Would that
then
be
it's
all right?
approved, then we can't go back and unapprove it, can we?
Yeah, it's contingent upon them putting that in. So our approval, if they don't put it in, then that would null and void the agreement, but it wouldn't stop them. So if my motion then would read that there will be no access unless it's emergency on James Hamilton, and the other part where they were supposed to address that they will address it as a part of the approval of this. Does that sound good to you, Willie?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
They have to do it.
Councilmember Keziah, let me note one thing. If you do impose it as a condition, it is not just a promise, it is a condition. So I want to make sure that you and all of council and the developer is aware that it is not a promise, it is an actual condition of approval.
Exactly.
Yes, we're comfortable with that.
Okay, that's what my motion is in.
Actually, Councilmember Keziah, could you please restate the motion? Because I think it's gotten
You
awfully
go-
convoluted now, but I think your motion was to
Motion to
approve the resolution removing full access to James Hamilton Road, providing emergency fire access from James Hamilton Road, and then I'll defer to you on the amenities.
On the other was that the motion also is contingent upon the development group following through with what Ms. Anthony was asking for about the teenagers or youth. Isn't that right, Saluda?
That's correct.
So that
We would prefer you'd call that a condition of approval instead of contingent.
Yes.
And that would.
Is that okay, Majid?
That works for us if unless planning staff objects.
Okay, that's my motion.
All right, I have a motion now. Do I have a second?
Second, Holloway seconds.
Did he say second?
Yes.
So,
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem second. All right, Councilman Anthony,
Yes.
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Member McGee,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Kazire,
Yes.
Kilgore, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go to C.
Motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156-106.
So move. I second, excuse
All right,
me.
I have a motion by Councilmember McGee. I have a second one by Councilmember Kazire. Councilman Anthony,
Yes.
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes.
Councilmember Kazire, McGee,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Kazire,
Yes.
Councilman Kilgore, yes, okay. Now we'll go to item D.
BC, will you?
We'll-
D, yeah. Motion to, let's see, only required is zoning map amendment approved. Motion to adopt ordinance amended section 156.98.
Okay,
Second that.
I have, Councilmember Kazire, I have a second by who?
Councilman McGee.
Councilman McGee. We have a motion, second, Councilman Anthony,
Yes.
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman McGee,
Yes.
Councilman James,
Yes.
Councilman Kazire,
Yes.
Kilgore, yes. Okay, that is approved under those conditions. We'll go to item 13. Zoning map amendment request for zone property located along North Rocky River Road. Who do we have? in there?
That's gonna be me as well, Carrie, with planning. I'm gonna get that set up here in just a second.
You know what? I slept, can't understand half of what they say. Do you have trouble?
Clear as well.
You got any trouble, Kilgore?
Sometimes I do.
I knew you young, yeah. It really makes me pay attention. I say that.
Mayor, I'm ready whenever you guys are.
Okay, wait.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Carrie Mensler with the Planning Department. Tonight I'll be presenting a zoning text and map amendment request. The applicant is requesting the rezoning in order to develop 38 townhomes. The total area of the project is 13.39 acres with 7.49 acres left as common open space. The density is 2.84 units per acre. To orient you to the site, the properties are highlighted in blue. They're located east of North Rocky River Road and just south of Union Power Way and the Union Power complex. The subject property is currently zoned R20, which is this gray color. Again, the properties are highlighted in blue. The adjoining zoning is the R10 SU, which is this yellow color to the east. R20, which is the gray to the north and south, and then general industrial to the west across North Rocky River Road. The applicant is requesting the rezoning in order to develop 38 townhomes. The total area of the project is 13.39 acres. Again, the density is 2.84 units per acre. The project is required to provide at least 50% open space since it is a multifamily development. That would equal 6.69 acres, and the total area of open space provided is 7.49 acres, or 56%. The open space includes recreation areas with playgrounds and fenced dog parks. So just to orient you, we've got a dog park at this end of the site, as well as at this end of this cul-de-sac, and then 2 recreation areas with access, sidewalk access. There is a blue line stream buffer or blue line that runs across the site here. It has been provided with the 50-foot buffer on both sides. Street trees will be provided throughout the development. Each building or set of buildings will also have 2 trees outside of the right-of-way. There will be landscaping provided along the perimeter of the site, as well as along Rocky River Road. And then there's also some wetlands and again, the stream, and the applicant is proposing some additional landscaping along those areas. The townhomes will have 2-car garages. All front load garages will have carriage style trim and or hardware that mimics carriage style garages. And driveways will be able to accommodate at least 2 vehicles. 5-foot wide sidewalk will be provided along both sides of the interior streets, and then an 8-foot wide sidewalk will be provided along North Rocky River Road. The site will have 1 full access entrance off of North Rocky River Road. A left turn lane into the development will be constructed. So you'll be able to enter the development by turning right off of Rocky River, as well as entering in the left turn lane and turning left into the development. You'll also be able to leave the development by turning left and right. Due to the number of proposed lots, the North Carolina Department of Transportation did not require a traffic impact analysis, nor did the city's engineering department, but that left turn lane will still be required. The developers proposing the townhomes will be a minimum of 1,974 heated square feet. The proposed exterior building materials will primarily be fiber cement, and the applicant has agreed to a minimum of 25% brick or stone on the front facade. Vinyl will only be used for trim work. The development does fall within the Rocky River Elementary, Monroe Middle, and Monroe High School districts for the 2020-21 school year. The applicant did hold a neighborhood meeting on the site on July 17th, 2020. 3 households attended that meeting. They were all from the Colonial Village subdivision, which is this subdivision to the east. In addition, staff did post 2 rezoning notification signs 10 days prior to the public hearing, which was August 7th. And then the city also sent out the official rezoning notification letters to all the adjacent property owners and everybody within at least 150 feet, also on August 7th. The land development plan does indicate this area is suburban. A mix of housing types and lot sizes is preferred in these suburban locations. Attached and multifamily housing is suitable for these areas, and the density for the suburban residential is 2 to 4 units per acre. The proposed project is consistent with the future land use plan. The planning staff and planning board recommended approval of the rezoning with the condition that vinyl be used for trim work only. The applicant did agree to that at planning board, and they did revise their site plan with the necessary notes as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is also online if you have questions for them.
Okay, thank you very much. Looks pretty good. Council, have any questions? This is a public hearing, and we had no comments submitted on this particular project. So I'll close the public hearing this time.
Motion to adopt resolution approving land development plan compliance.
Second, Councilwoman Anthony, second.
Lee second.
Anthony, Councilman Anthony.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Kazire. I have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Councilwoman
Councilwoman
It was Anthony seconded.
Sorry, that's my mistake. Okay,
That's-
Councilwoman Anthony second. Okay, here we go. Councilman Anthony,
Yes.
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman McGee.
Yes.
Councilman James,
Yes.
Councilman Kazire,
Yes.
Kilgore, yes. Okay, it'll be, C.
Motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.106.
Holloway seconds.
It really was a Hollywood ending to what was a decades-long tumultuous.
I had a motion by,
This year, as we celebrate the 2020 anniversary,
Can someone please mute their microphone? Because we're hearing, I don't know what.
I have a motion by Councilman McGee. Who's second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Kazire. Ms. Anthony? All in favor, Ms. Anthony?
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman McGee?
Yes.
Councilman James?
Yes.
Councilman Kazire?
Yes.
And Kilgore, yes. Item D.
Motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.106.
Actually, ma'am, that would be 156.98.
All right,
Okay, I'm sorry, 98.
okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Anthony. I have a second by Councilman James. All in favor, Ms. Anthony? Councilman Anthony?
Aye.
Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
Pro Tem Holloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McGee?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Councilmember Gazar?
Yes.
And Kilgore, yes. So that's approved. We go to item 14. Capital project budget order for wastewater treatment plant flow. Action needed for motion to adopt capital project budget orders. Any questions on that, or do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilman.
Councilman Anthony second.
Councilman Desire, motion, and Councilmember Anthony seconded. All in favor, Anthony?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Pro Tem Holloway?
Yes.
Councilman McGee?
Yes.
Councilman James?
Yes.
Councilman Desire?
Yes.
And Kilgore, 14. Item 15, Monroe Science Center exhibit purchase and installation, award contract to Boss Display. Action needed. Any question on that?
Yeah, I have a question, Councilwoman James. Staff report, looking at it, it's kind of vague. A couple questions. Is this are these exhibits age appropriated?
Yes, ma'am. These exhibits will range from preschool age, and this is Pete Hovanek, Communications Tourism Officer or Director. Yeah, these exhibits are designed for our age group from preschool through, say, 8th to early high school. And it's roughly 12 exhibits, give or take. And Bruce, if you could pull up that PDF, this will give you a quick overview of what it is. So if it's okay, Mayor and Council, I'll just give you a quick showing. So the first are some paper plane launchers to be part of our aerospace segment. When we scroll down, Bruce. Yeah, okay, too fast. So basically it's a cage with paper plane. Kids learn how to make paper planes and actually shoot them through targets with launchers. Explains flight and has some other details to it. Go down to the next page, please. Kind of just a rendering of what it'll look like. Come on down. Another one is a Bernoulli blower. So basically beach balls, plastic balls. It shows how air circulates over the wings or over objects to keep them in flight. That'll be part of it. Next one. Next one is a kinetic. These are all movable magnet pieces where the whole wall is magnetic and it'll have PVC piping to where the kids can make stuff and have gears and watch the balls and stuff go through. Next one. Part of our water exhibit is a big piece of slate wall water paint. The kids can actually paint on it with slate and water, and the slate dries quickly, so it'll be a recycled area, and that'll be in our wet area. Next one, sir. Our big one is our water table. It's about 16 feet interactive at different heights. If you could see, Councilman James, it comes at different levels. So at the lower level, it'll be the stuff there is more geared to the younger kids. And as you step towards the rear, it gets a little more complicated and intricate where the kids can make dams and the kids could do different things at that end of it. Come on down. And these are just a couple of the elements of the water piece. You could scroll down, Bruce, a couple more. Just different pieces inside that water display. Keep coming. Keep coming. Some neat stuff, all meant to be interactive. Keep coming. Sorry, there's a bunch of those. Keep coming. A giant light bright, I believe, is part of this. It's pretty cool. It'll be in our dark area. Come on down. And electricity. So part of this from this company is also a 6-piece kind of
in motion to simulate some stuff where kids actually have to physically jump on stuff, turn stuff, crank stuff. So as they turn this crank, it produces enough electricity for an incandescent, an LED, light bulbs. And we'll have supplemental information that kind of gives them, hey, how many watts it takes to light this, how many watts it takes to light that. And I think that's all on that one, Bruce. And then if you look at the other sheet that was in the packet, Bruce, if you could pull that one up. Let's see. I'm sorry, does that answer your question, Councilman James?
Yeah, it does. Anything about litter? I know we talk heavily about litter in the community. Is there any exhibits that would be?
As of right now, I don't have anything planned for litter. The Science Center's 4 main components are aerospace, agriculture, healthcare, and manufacturing. I'm open to discussing any and all possibilities that we could do with litter. We just have to find a place for it and something specific to it. I don't know exactly what that looks like. But as you can see on the screen, this is part of that other segment where kids turn cranks and make balls go through mazes, and just really interactive and gets them to figure out puzzles and figure out how to make things work. And it's all specifically designed and made for us here in Monroe. The lettering and the colors inside match the lettering and colors outside.
Good job, Pete.
Can you repeat those areas you spoke of again? You said agriculture, health.
Yes, ma'am. So our 4 main segments in Union County is aerospace, agriculture, healthcare, and manufacturing is kind of the catch-all. So we're from the very start, we've tried to design our exhibits and our layout around those 4 major hubs because they're very specific to Union County. And there is some catch-all and there is some crossover, but that's what we aim for.
Pete, Councilwoman Anthony here. I noticed that the kids were wearing the little plastic coveralls. Will the center be providing those?
Yes, ma'am. So we'll have a station, a hand washing station, and where they could put on their little rain gear so they don't get totally wet and have to go back in the car all wet. But yes, ma'am, we'll have a little station out there for that where they could get dressed up and do stuff like
keeping
that.
in mind COVID-19, and I know we won't be opening during the pandemic, but going forth, how will we sanitize?
Yes, ma'am. So right now, we're at least 6 months out from opening this facility. So we're not exactly sure what it's going to look like by the time we're ready to open, but we do have, I think, 10 to 15 of the hand sanitization stations that we have throughout the city already at the facility ready to go. And yeah, we've already talked with our cleaning crews and with everybody. It's going to be much like what Tanya and her aquatic center staff are going to have to do. It's just, we're going to do everything we have to do to maintain sanitization inside the facility. And we've talked with our cleaning crew. Brian's done a fantastic job with working with our cleaning crews for that sanitization efforts.
More specifically with the water itself, little kids like to get a mouthful of water, spit it back in there, do different little things as kids will do. I was thinking of some way to make sure that the water sanitized, something that would not harm them physically, but make it safe for the other kids as well.
Yeah, the water, we have a drain and a hose, so that water will be changed at least daily. We'll look and see what kind of specifications we need to do at the time. We'll get some recommendations from the health department and from those a little more learned than myself that will give us recommendations on the sanitization efforts.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
James, so are these all the exhibits that go in the Science Center, or are there more?
No, ma'am. So this is one company that's going to provide roughly 12 exhibits. And it's really good that we're able to find this company to do so many. Right now, we're contracting with probably about 6 or 7 other companies for different exhibits. So hopefully by the time we're fully
well, by the time we're full, we'll have close to 40 exhibits. So this represents about 12 of those exhibits. We have about 8 or 9 already purchased or on the way. This will add to that, and we've still got a good bit of work to do, but we can't get a lot of these exhibits until construction is complete inside the facility. So we're kind of easing in and getting what we can now.
Councilwoman Anthony, will the plane still be on the side of the building?
Yes, ma'am. We will have a plane. It is an A4 Skyhawk. It's actually currently based at the Monroe Airport. It's an old plane. We're working with the nonprofit group that helps us with the air show. They're willing to donate the plane to us for a minimum of 5 years. We are in the process of getting it repainted. We have donated paint and labor that's going to help us with that. We just got to figure out how to get it here. So I don't know. I don't think it'll fit on the back of the mayor's pickup truck, but we could try.
After the 5 years, what?
I'm in the process. It's not the ideally, we'd love a plane that kids could get into. Now this is an old jet plane, so it looks really cool, but you really can't get into it. So our thought process is we will take this one for a minimum of 5 years while we continue to look for another one that kids can actually get into. And this one's not going to cost us much of anything. So it's a win-win, and the group is willing to put forth volunteers to man the plane, so to speak, and give tours and talk about its history and its significance.
Okay, thank you.
So what you all have in front of you is actually 2 parts. So one is to consider awarding the bid to Boss Display for those 12 or so exhibits. And the other is to approve a capital project budget ordinance in the amount of $192,000 in donated dollars that we received through the Arts Council. So basically, and Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, that is just basically recognizing and accepting the donated money that we've received. So it's actually 2 parts. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
I'm sorry, Councilman James, what did you say about, you said something about council on aging, what did you say?
I'm sorry, say that one more time, please.
You said something about council on aging. What did you say about something about council?
No, nothing about council on aging. I'm sorry, it's a capital project budget ordinance.
What did you say?
Bruce, Pete, Freddie Gordon here.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I just have one question, and if you can give me some quick facts.
Yes.
One, this is 12 exhibits. Totally there, how many? This seems to be rather primary, and certainly we would hope that this thing could go to advanced age of this. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure I understand your question, sir.
So this was just, I believe you stated 12 exhibits out of a total of 40 or something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so future exhibits would be hopefully beyond this level, to reach all age groups or whatever?
Yes, sir. So yeah, great question. So we will have a range of exhibits. So for instance, we will have some virtual reality stuff that are for higher age kids and for more advanced kids. So yes, we will have a good mix of everything. And even some of these, they might seem simple, but kids are going to like them and kids are going to play with them. We've seen it at Discovery Place in similar facilities.
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
They're way over time limit, right?
I'm sorry, one more time, please.
Construction company's way behind where they should be right now, correct?
Yes, sir. They are more than a year past their anticipated completion date.
Is there any kind of fine?
Yes, sir. We do have liquidated damages built into our contract with them. And once we get to that state, when they finish the project, then we'll sit down and we'll really put Majib and Ashley to work going after them for those liquidated damages.
Councilman Kazai, state your name.
Councilman Kazai.
Any other council member have a question? If not, this is item 15 on item A, award of contract to Boss Display. Do I have a motion?
Motion to award contract to Boss Display.
Okay,
Councilman McGee.
I have a motion by Councilman McGee, I have a second by Councilman Kazar. Councilmember Anthony,
Yes,
Councilman Gordon,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes,
Councilmember McGee,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Kazar,
Yes.
and Kilgore, yes. Item B is the same. Item B, motion to award the capital project ordinance, council to motion to adopt capital project budget. Item B.
So moved.
Councilman Kazire, so moved.
Councilman Kazar, and was that Mr. McGee?
Yeah.
Councilmember
Councilman
McGee, second. All right, all in favor, Councilman Councilmember Anthony,
yes,
Councilmember Gordon,
yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
yes,
Councilmember McGee,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Kazar,
Yes.
and Kilgore is yes. Okay. And the council action need a motion to adopt the capital project budget and the city manager to execute the document. So a motion.
Motion to authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents.
I have
Councilmember James.
I have a motion from Councilmember James.
Councilmember Anthony second,
I have Councilmember Anthony second. Okay, Cassidy is yes. Councilmember Gordon,
yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway,
yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway said yes. Councilmember McGee, Councilmember
Yes, sir.
James,
Yes.
Councilmember Kazar,
Yes.
and Kilgore. I believe that takes care of it. Yeah, so that takes
Thank you,
care,
Mayor and Council.
I'm sorry,
I said, thank you, sir.
absolutely. Item 16, partnership between City of Monroe and Union County to install the Charter Freedom on Main Street Plaza.
Okay, I got questions about this. What is
Okay,
this and?
They gonna show us something. Who's gonna be talking on that?
Looks like some burley.
Good afternoon, Mayor. It's Brian Bourne,
Wow.
Assistant City Manager.
Okay,
What I have for you tonight is consideration with the partnership in Union County government for the installation of the Charters of Freedom. This is a monument of the Declaration of Independence, U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights in Main Street Plaza. I have with me tonight, and I think they're on the Zoom call, Ron Lewis with Foundation Forward. That is the nonprofit group that brought this project to the county for consideration and the city for partnership. He is also a former Union County manager. I also have Brian Matthews, the Assistant County Manager for Union County, on the call. So I'll go through the staff report. Then after Bruce, we'll go to a short video that Ron has for you to view. And then Ron will be available for questions if there are any that you have for him. So I'll move on with the staff report right now. So Foundation Forward is a 501c3 nonprofit. They're an educational organization that builds these charters of freedom settings in communities across the country. The installation provides easy access and open access for all to visit 3 founding documents: the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, all 3 being the Charters of Freedom. Burke County, Morganton, North Carolina, was the first Charters of Freedom setting installed outside of Washington, D.C., and that monument was dedicated July 2nd of 2014. There are 11 other locations within the state of North Carolina. The Charters of Freedom was secured by Union County, and in selecting an appropriate site central to the community, high visibility, high foot traffic, and easy access for school children and veterans, approached the City of Monroe to locate the setting in Main Street Plaza. The location would be at the front of the plaza, adjacent to the fountain and flag poles. And I do have a little conceptual layout in your packet. Materials in construction of the monument will complement the materials found in the plaza and the adjacent structures. In this, Union County will be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the Charters for Freedom Monument, and the city will continue to maintain the plaza as we currently do. A memorandum of understanding will be drafted to reflect Union County and city responsibilities as noted above, and the city will dedicate an easement for the construction and permanent location for the Charters of Freedom Monument. This was brought, the General Services Committee Chair, Lynn Keziah, agreed to move this item to full council without committee review due to the August 20th date and the subsequent cancellation of that committee meeting. Staff requests City Council consider approval of the partnership with Union County government to locate the Charters of Freedom installation in Main Street Plaza and authorize staff to coordinate construction with Foundation Forward Incorporated and Union County. Now, Bruce, I'll turn it over to you to show that video, and then Ron Lewis and Brian Matthews will be available for any questions.
I want to tell you about the principles of Foundation Forward. The number one principle of Foundation Forward is education. No matter what you take from this experience, it all goes back to education. Education on American history, to preserve that history surrounding the time of the founding of our country. Education on government, so all will know how government is meant to serve and protect we the people. Number two is access. You see, not everyone can get to Washington, to the National Archives. We want to provide access to these founding documents in communities in a proper setting. And number three is community. Having your Charters of Freedom allows your community a place where they can gather to celebrate, to honor, and to reflect. People ask us, why are we doing this? And we tell them, yes, it's very expensive, but it's more important than money. We believe it gives us a direct link to our founding fathers by helping to preserve what it is they gave this country, a government to serve and protect we the people. If you want a monument or a setting to last, you put more underground than above ground. These are not tip-over monuments. Your foundation goes down 3.5 feet. It is solid, reinforced poured concrete, coming up into a solid, reinforced core. Just the core and foundation of the center display weighs over 38,000 pounds, over 19 tons. There are 6 documents displayed. All are life-size, which means the Declaration of Independence is a little larger than the others. Each one is on 1/4-inch etched bronze and weighs over 60 pounds. There is a Charters of Freedom medallion on the front, which is very special. The eagle represents the Declaration of Independence, proud, bold, defiant. The 7 stars above the eagle represent the 7 articles of the United States Constitution. The 10 stars under the eagle represent the first 10 amendments, your Bill of Rights. From the beginning, this has been an education project. We learned we had 2 founding fathers who were very big on education, Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. These 2 believed that in order to have a free and independent country, you must understand how government works, that you cannot control what you do not understand. Thomas Jefferson in 1789 said, "Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty." And James Madison wrote in 1822, "A people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives." Our hope is that our future leaders will come from communities where they have their own Charters of Freedom setting, that your children will no longer grow up just talking about the Constitution and Bill of Rights of Washington. They'll be talking about their United States Constitution and their Bill of Rights, the ones they grew up with right in your own community.
I'm just glad to see a resurgence of patriotism around our country and the small communities. I mean, that's where it starts. And the fourth, fifth graders and coming to see these things, I think it's a wonderful thing that Mary Jo and Vance are doing.
Thank you, Bruce. Ron, Brian, are you guys on the line?
Yes, Brian, I'm available.
Okay. Do we have Ron Lewis on there? I guess Ron's not with us.
Council, have any questions?
Yes, Councilwoman James have questions. First, how much is this project gonna cost?
So Mr. Lewis is not available. The cost of the actual setting is actually being paid for by the Foundation Forward. The county is responsible for any maintenance of it in the future. Also, we would actually incur any costs associated with if we put any lighting in there and permitting and those such things. So the cost of the actual setting is being borne by the Foundation Forward group.
This is Ron Lewis. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm the treasurer of Foundation Forward, and we have funds in hand to build this setting. It will cost the county absolutely nothing. It'll cost
Or
the
the
city absolutely nothing.
I found this is Councilmember Anthony. I sort of like the idea. I know what the Constitution says. I know what the preamble to the Constitution said, but I find it ironic that the video didn't have any minorities in it.
Right.
Well, we certainly have a minority that works with us, and we're anxious to display that this is for all the people.
You said you have a minority.
No, I said we have a minority that works with us, a young black man that works with us.
Oh, wow.
But it's built for all the people. We're non-political and we're non-religious. It's an education foundation that it works every day to display the founding documents across this great country.
Councilmember Franco McGee here. You said you have a minority. I'm looking at your team. I don't see any representation from anybody of color on here. But nevertheless, I'm sorry.
Yes, he works with us when we do shows. He's part-time. He's full-time with the telephone company, but he works part-time with us when we do shows.
Right. I was looking for somebody that was on your team that helped to kind of make the decisions about how these are actually disseminated. I have a question. So there's nothing mentioned about Juneteenth or the emancipation of slavery in your displays. Is that something that you guys can add to honor when slavery was ended? Because everybody knows in 1776, Black people were still enslaved. And so if you're about education, I think that's a very important piece to really display when we were free. And Juneteenth is that date, and June 19th, 1865 is very important so that everybody understands what that's about and moving forward as a country, the importance of that day as well. Is that something that you guys can add to that monument?
We have added pedestals. We added in Halifax County, we added the Halifax Resolve, which actually predates the Declaration of Independence. In discussions with Mecklenburg County, they have a document that predates the Declaration of Independence also, and I'm sure that will be added. We could add a pedestal with some local history, some local involvement, and we could make a a statement to that effect, Councilman. We would be willing to work with you to clarify that issue and to make that become a reality.
No, sir, that's not local history, sir. We're talking about American history, the emancipation of slavery.
I understand. Please pardon me, I misspoke, but we would be willing to work to, but our foundation is prepared to build at no cost to the county or the city the three pedestals that are there in our setting. There would, if there was additional cost like that, we would have to raise that locally. But I don't think that would be a problem. In fact, I think your point is well taken.
And I think it's very important right now, especially during the times where there's such civil unrest and racial divide, that we recognize everybody, and that such, and make sure that everybody feels like they have a place in history. And I feel like we haven't had that this far. So that would be very important to me as a council member and as a Black man.
On Thursday, I will see our president and founder, Mr. Vance Patterson, and I will personally make your request available to him, and I will support it to try to get a fourth pedestal added that would display the current makeup of our country and the current in terms of what's happening here in 2020. I think your point is well taken, and we would do our best to make that happen.
I think you're still missing my point. I'm talking about the emancipation of slavery that happened in 1865. I'm not talking about currently right now. I'm talking about the fact that's recognized as a
Mayor and Council, this is Mujib, I would note that what you're being asked to do here is to approve a partnership and potentially coordinate construction. However, the partnership documents, if there is given Councilmember McGee and Councilmember Anthony's statements and important concerns, that could be something that could be incorporated in the other documents if you were to move forward with this. And obviously, it would not move forward until there's a final set of documents. So things are subject to negotiation, of course.
right, because that's going to be contingent upon my decision of approving this actual this charter, because I just think that needs to be a part of the display.
With respect, there is actually no charter to approve now, to approve a proposed partnership and to authorize staff. So obviously what you could do is approve it, but contingent on also an acceptable to council partnership document.
Councilwoman James got another comment. I think this will be also in the Science Center. I'm saying, we talk about education. I know he mentioned that a lot. Don't see why this couldn't be in the Science Center.
I'll defer to the assistant city manager, but I believe that because this is a joint city-county project, that the site has been envisioned as an area that is effectively a joint area. I'll defer to Brian on that.
It's the site was chosen because of its accessibility and near the government offices. It's out in the open. It's got street exposure. In a building, I don't think would provide the visibility that I think the foundation would like to see. You have the veterans offices right there in one of the county buildings. You have the court system. You have City Hall down the way, county government. So a lot of daily traffic is going to be driven around these monuments. And I think that's the reason for locating it here.
Yes, I'd say that that's accurate, Brian. And if you'll notice from any of the other examples around the state and the country, those were actually made outside. And again, I can't say that it can't be inside, but it was intended to be more open in the public eye as opposed to possibly locked in a building.
Okay, Councilwoman Anthony here. I don't think it was a question of moving it inside unless I misunderstood something. I think the question was for it to be more inclusive. At the time of the Declaration of Independence and preamble to the Constitution, Black people were chattel. They were property. And I think what Councilmember McGee was saying was that it be inclusive and recognize that Black people were here as well, just were not free at that time.
But I do like the fact that it would be in the main plaza. I think that would be a great place for for visibility and for everybody to have access to it anytime, and not be inside of a building. So I think that will be a good location.
Councilman James wasn't talking about inside the Science Center. I was talking about outside.
Mayor and Council, perhaps, given the concerns that have been raised, and then perhaps it would be appropriate for the foundation to come back to the city with some proposed changes to meet the concerns. It may be appropriate to ask that maybe you wish to table this item until either your September or October meeting for further consideration. And I think that may assist in meeting the request that council has made.
Councilman James, vote to table.
All right, I have
To which meeting, ma'am? So we just have to make sure we have a date specific.
September is fine.
Councilmember Anthony, I second.
I have a question. During that time, we would have opportunity to maybe have more discussion about what this would look like and kind of get some idea of how to move forward with this.
That's up to you in terms of what is done in that time frame. And
Okay.
I would defer to the assistant city manager on what discussions would be had, but I believe that's where you would be headed.
Yes, it's my understanding that if you are requesting to defer the action, then we would likely want a contingent of staff and city council to be able to discuss what it is that you are, that we want this to look like and how we want to move forward.
I agree.
Well, then going back to council member James's original motion, your September meeting is actually only in about another couple of weeks because of the
2
calendar.
weeks.
So would you be better off moving this to October?
Yes, October is fine if that works with the staff.
Well, then I think Councilmember Anthony was the seconder of the motion. Would she
Yeah,
agree to
Councilmember
modify the
Anthony.
motion?
I will second the new motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman James, Councilwoman Anthony. All in favor, Anthony?
Aye.
Okay, Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman McGee,
Yes.
Councilman James,
Yes.
Councilman Desire,
Yes.
Kilgore, yes. So that'll be tabled until the October meeting. Thank you so much for your presentation on that. And we look forward to speaking with you. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our calendar unless someone has something in it. I'm gonna bring it. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kazar, second by Councilmember James, Councilmember Anthony,
Yes.
Councilman Gordon,
Yes.
Pro Tem Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman McGee,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Kazar,
Yes.
and Kilgore, yes. This time we're out of session.
Be safe, everyone.